I was 19 when I pushed the speedometer too far on a pitch-black highway, lost control, and totalized my car in a horrific wreck. My vehicle was reduced to a heap of twisted metal, but I somehow walked away without a scratch. A miracle, or so I thought. When the highway patrol arrived, they didn't write up a report or call an ambulance. Instead, they cuffed me and drove me straight to a decaying off-the-grid holding facility in the middle of nowhere. To scare some sense into me, they threw me into Block C, the murder tank. It was an open-tier layout, a long claustrophobic concrete walkway flanked by opposing rows of iron-barred cages. The air was a heavy, suffocating soup of rotting copper, damp concrete, and pure, concentrated human malice. Cranky cons rattled their chains and slammed against the bars, screaming curses into the dark. Dysfunction and volatile rage hung so thick you could taste it. The first night, someone in a cell down the tier completely snapped. He spent hours shrieking and throwing his body against the steel, keeping the entire block awake. Around midnight, the heavy thud of combat boots echoed down the hall. 4 massive guards dragged the screaming man out of his cell and threw him into a soft cell, a room entirely lined with mattresses. They slammed the heavy door shut, but it couldn't muffle the sickening thuds of wooden batons, the fracturing of bone, and the guttural, subhuman whimpering of a man being systematically broken. When they dragged his unconscious body back down the walkway as a warning to the rest of us, he left a thick, dark trail of blood on the concrete. The next morning, the guards washed down the tier with a high-pressure fire hose, leaving the floor slick, damp, and smelling of human waste. The cons in my cell were all facing hard time for murder. Oddly enough, they were the quietest, most disciplined crew in the facility. Nobody got out of line, except me. Driven by nervous friction, I pocketed a pack of cigarettes from one of their bunks while they slept. Everyone noticed the next morning, but nobody said a word. They just watched me with these hollow, freezing smiles. The third night was when the storm hit. Thunder rattled the reinforced glass and the fluorescent lights flickered erratically. To pass the time, my cellmates gathered in a circle to trade their sins. The hulking, scarred man from the bunk below mine spoke first, his voice a low, raspy gravel. My old lady cheated on me, so I drove her out to the deep desert, tied her up, and had my way with her one last time. Right as I was climaxing, I jammed a .45 into her mouth and pulled the trigger. Her brains turned into desert dust. The cell fell silent. The others just nodded in solemn approval. Next was a frail, red-eyed old man who calmly detailed how he used to flay his victims alive, treating their skin like fine leather. When the silence settled again, every eye in the cell locked onto me. The alpha of the tank leaned forward, his gaze boring into my skull. "What about you, kid? What's your story? Nobody ends up in the tank for nothing." I swallowed hard, my voice trembling. I just had a car wreck. I was speeding, crossed the yellow line and hit an oncoming car head-on. The cons traded puzzled glances. The old man frowned, a dark curiosity in his eyes. "Then why the hell did they put you in here? This is the morgue." "The morgue?" I stammered. "What are you talking about? This is jail." The man from the bottom bunk let out a sickening hollow chuckle. He pulled back his collar to reveal a massive, jagged bullet hole in his neck, dry, grey, and completely bloodless. The old man lifted his shirt, showing a gaping chest wound right where his heart should have been beating. There was no pulse. "Listen closely, kid," the man whispered, his breath freezing cold. "We're already downstairs. Only the dead punch a ticket to this block. You didn't just steal a pack of cigarettes from us. You stole the lives of a family in that oncoming car. You died the exact same second they did. You just haven't woken up to it yet." Right then, the lights flickered violently and stayed on. I looked down at my hands. The flesh beneath my fingernails was turning a bruised, necrotic grey, and my skin felt like ice. Through the iron bars, I looked out at the walkway. The figures spraying down the floor with the fire hose weren't correctional officers at all. They were faceless, shadow-clad entities. That was the moment I realized I hadn't been locked up to be impressed. I had just arrived at the first tier of my eternal sentence.